If you were the CEO of a European car company, what would you do?
Become like a
Straight jacket?
straight jacket?
Yeah. These are really easy questions.
Very easy. The current regulation is becoming an opportunity for China and a threat to Europe.
China is moving.
China is moving. That's how capitalism works. You are not supposed to force consumers to buy one thing.
So it's a trend against the environment.
If you just point at the environment, then you will have issues with jobs, you will have issues with the economy. And we're already seeing this.
Yeah.
So they can beat the West, and they are already beating them.
Could we do the same thing in Europe? There is one brand that are sort of in a really good place. I'm talking about Volvo, because they have production in US, Europe, and China, and I cannot see any other Chinese company who has that. Who are the big losers right now, you think? Should Europe cut back on the speed of electrification in... what is that reason that EU did this really stupid thing that will hurt the car companies in Europe even more?
The big threat will be in the combustion engine cars.
It will be.
Yes. The car makers need to stop this addiction to margins, and the consequence is that 3 million people are not buying cars anymore.
Yeah. Are they getting too sophisticated, the cars maybe today?
There are rules here in China as well.
Yes.
But it's not as complex as in Europe.
No. So we are suffocating ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. If you were to buy a new car today, what would it be?
Ska du köpa eller sälja en laddbar bil kan du göra det online hos Carla som har över 500 bilar till salu just nu.
So that's why I ended up with an old used V8 Lexus. So I'm having an interview with Felipe Munoz. You're a car industrial analytic at Jato.
Right.
The big company.
Yes, it's well known, yeah.
Yes, so thank you for taking your time.
Thank you, Eric, for having me here.
Yeah, really nice. I'm looking forward to this. If you were the CEO of a European, we are sitting here in China now, and we have visited NIO and seen a lot of things, and the competition here is really, really tough here. And in Europe, you can look at the situation is really tough because the European car manufacturers, they are losing ground in China, and they have tough time in Europe for the interest rates, the transition to electric cars and a lot of things.
Yeah.
So if you were the CEO of a European car company, what would you do?
Well, first of all, it would be a very hard task.
Yeah.
But I think the priority for any European car maker right now is to catch up in China with the Chinese competition. I think it's their biggest challenge right now. So if I was leading one of these companies, I would definitely think of having more collaboration, anything cooperation, merger, or whatever, with the Chinese car makers.
Mm-hmm.
If we are all moving towards electric cars, you need to work with the ones who know how to build competitive electric cars, and they are the Chinese. So any cooperation with them should be in their priorities.
Okay, great. So since we are here with NIO, they have no ties with any European car
NIO,
manufacturer.
you mean?
Yeah, NIO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Well, yeah, not all. I mean, when we talk about China, there are at least 11 big car makers.
Yeah.
But in terms of brands, there are more than 100, no?
Yes.
So each one has its own ways, its own positioning. NIO, as you just said, it doesn't have proper cooperation with the Western car makers. I think it's just their approach. So far, as we just heard from William Lee, their focus, their priority continues to be China.
Yeah.
This is a massive market.
Yes.
And as long as they survive the current price war, they become stronger. So
yes.
I think in the short term, we will continue to see NIO focus concentrated on China. But if they survive this very difficult price war, we will eventually see NIO playing a bigger role outside China with probably a partnership with someone in Europe or even the US. You never know. I mean, the US is a second step, but they definitely, all of the Chinese car makers definitely need also the Western side, because we're talking of two different markets. and any cooperation helps in terms of time.
Yeah, if I were Neo, I would go to one of the American brands to help them out.
Well, yeah, but it's more tricky there. The politics are playing their role.
It is. But if you were CEO of one of the Chinese car companies, then you are facing the tariffs in Europe and a fierce competition here, and you have overcapacity in China. So you need to export more cars. So what would you do? These are really easy questions.
Very. I wish I had the answers. Look, the Chinese want to become global. Chinese car makers, one of their goals is to become global, to expand their business. But you cannot do that only by exporting from China.
No.
So yes, they have overcapacity issues here. There is a big price war here. But if you need to have an important presence abroad, you need to come. You need to be there not only with distributions or dealer networks, but you need to have your own factories there.
Yes.
Even though we talk about a lot about globalization and all of these things, at the end of the day, each market is protecting itself, and the way they are doing it is by increasing tariffs or making it more difficult for trade. No, if you depend on trade on this kind of trade, which is becoming increasingly more complex, if you depend on tariffs, then your global expansion is going to be very hard. You need to have a factory.
Yeah.
So eventually, even companies like Neo will need to be there producing locally and having an impact also in that economy, because when you just import, you're not making part of the real game. Yeah. So I think that's what they need to do eventually. I'm not saying that they need to do it now. We just heard him. China is still a big market. It's still a big potential. So why not just to focus here and then think of the rest in the coming years?
So, yes, if you were in charge of the European Parliament, because now you can see the car industry has really problems, and the layoffs and closing down on the factories, and we have problems with the car companies compliant with the CO2 targets.
Yeah.
They will be fined heavily, probably 2025. So what would you do if you were in charge of the EU?
Look, the regulation is welcome. It's part of what we call developed economy, but it cannot be. It cannot
Hospitals?
become like a
Straitjacket?
straitjacket.
Yeah.
Because it has to be flexible.
Yeah.
It has to consider the changing conditions, the new challenges, and everything. I understand the goals. I understand the what it wants to achieve.
Yes.
But when those goals were set, the world was different.
It was.
China was not playing the role it's playing now. There was not a pandemic that affected the whole industry, even the demand. So we need to consider these things in order to have a better regulation. The regulation should take into account all the changing conditions to become more adapted to the reality. So if I was in the European Parliament,
In charge.
yeah, many important roles.
Yeah. You will have a great salary.
Mamma mia, yeah. I would definitely work on rethinking these goals.
Yeah.
I mean, if the impact of this regulation we are seeing already is a negative impact in terms of jobs, in terms of economy, we need to do something about it. We need to find a solution where we can meet the goals, but still consider the industry's challenges. Sometimes I think the regulation in Brussels is not aligned to reality. So these people making the laws don't really see how the industry works.
Yeah.
The tariffs, it's a big thing. I mean, it's an answer, but it's a short-term answer. It
Yeah.
doesn't solve the real problem Europe has, which is the lack of competitiveness.
Yes. So would you take away the stringent CO2 targets for next year, for 2025? Lower it a little bit?
Yes,
Yes.
I would. I
Yes.
would. I think not all companies are ready. And we need to support the industry. It's not as it is. The current regulation is becoming an opportunity for China and a threat to Europe. And if you play as a European and you want to design a regulation for Europe, in Europe, you need to think of Europe's interest, not on Chinese.
So you mean that these regulations make this easier for the Chinese because
Yes.
they are very good at electric cars, and when eventually when they have production in Europe, they will just have better products.
Yes.
Yeah.
They already have it. They
Yes.
have them.
Yeah.
They are more competitive. They know how to do it. They have secured their supply chain in terms of batteries. They have a strong support from the central government here
Yeah.
in China. They have a massive market. So they have all advantages right now. While if you look at the situation in Europe, it's totally the opposite. You have a shrinking market. You have a lot of regulation. So and you have a lot of car makers that have been doing combustion engines for more than a century,
Yes,
which is not easy to change that mentality.
it's not.
Yeah, so you need
It costs a lot of
time.
money.
Yes.
But now we see in trend that the European car manufacturers are going back to combustion engines, and that will make them less competitive on the electric car market. That will make them less competitive on the Chinese market.
Yes, that's true. I mean, only if the whole world is moving to electrics. That's, I mean,
China is moving.
China is moving, but Japan is not. The US is not. Europe is taking its time. And the emerging markets, the electric cars are still an expensive thing.
But I bet in 10 years...
It's going to be more,
Yeah.
yes. But we have to consider the differences among markets. I
Yes.
mean, in 10 years, I don't see the US buying more electric cars than combustion engines cars. In the US.
Not in 10 years, maybe not, no.
So they're taking more time.
Yeah.
So you need also to supply demand for those who won't buy electric cars.
Yes.
Because that's how capitalism works. You are not supposed to force consumers to buy one thing.
Yeah.
They should have as many options as possible.
Or you could do the other thing. You could do as they do in China. They have a lower tax, so it's more profitable for your own wallet to drive electric cars.
Yes,
so
of course.
Now I see the trend in Europe. I would say that a lot of people think that the electric cars are not so good, and we want to take them back to the old-fashioned cars, engines and so on. So it's a trend against the environment even. And people are thinking the environment maybe is not that important. We will go back for the economy. So I think the gap for the politicians is really small. That they need to put back the incentives to get the EBV market growing.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Well, yes, that's right. The balance is not easy to find the balance between economy and environment.
Yeah.
That's right. But you cannot have. I mean, if you just point at the environment, then you will have issues with jobs. You will
Yes.
have issues with the economy, and we're already seeing this.
Yes, we are.
Volkswagen just announced the closure or I don't know what's going to happen, but big things are happening in terms of economy. So you cannot have both, but there should be a mix, a balance between the environment and economy. But also, we need to understand also the consumers'
Yes.
concerns. Today, we are asking the consumers in Europe to buy electric when these cars are more expensive,
They are.
the infrastructure is not ready, and then
Yeah.
the residual value is lower.
Yeah.
Why would you buy electric then?
No,
Yeah.
you wouldn't.
I mean,
If you have a company car, maybe it's profitable.
yes,
Yeah.
because it's not yours. But as a private individual,
Yeah.
there are still more disadvantages than advantages. I
For a
understand.
lot of people, yes.
Yes. So at the end of the day, yes, we all care about the environment, but we also care about our wallets, no?
We do.
So
That's the
it's
first
not,
priority.
It's not, yes. It's in the capitalism world, it's that's how it is. And today is still not 100% profitable to buy electric.
Yeah. So that's a big question now for the politicians too. But in China, they made the electric cars cheaper, so it's profitable for the Chinese. So what have they done to make it more profitable in China to have electric cars, and we can't do it in Europe?
There are two things that they have that Europe doesn't have. One, as I said before, is that China has secured the supply chain to produce batteries.
Yes.
So they control the parts
Yes.
to produce the battery.
Yes.
That makes a big difference.
It does.
Because they have the whole process. And so making batteries is not as expensive as in the West. That's one thing. The other thing is the government support.
Yes.
The EVs are part of the long-term plans, economic plans for the Chinese central government. They know that with combustion engine cars, they cannot beat the West.
Yeah.
But with electric ones, they have the know-how, they have the batteries, and they have the economies of scale.
Yeah.
So they can beat the West. And they are already beating them.
Yeah, they are.
So that's why. I mean, it's a national interest. The EV has become a national interest for the Chinese government. So it's part of the economy right now. It's not the case in Europe. It's not the case in the US.
Could we do the same thing in Europe, in US? Make it's important for future economic to invest more in BEVs?
Yes, we can. The problem is that when it's about batteries, we're still dependent on China.
Yeah.
So if your industry
And
is not autonomous, is not independent, it's hard.
It's hard. Okay.
Yes.
So we need to invest more in batteries in Europe.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And that's proving to be really hard.
And allow the development of other solutions.
Yeah.
The electric vehicles should not be the only solution. There should be many more.
Okay. So in this really tough environment, there is one brand that are sort of in a really good place. I'm talking about Volvo, because they have production in US, Europe, and China, and I cannot see any other Chinese company who has that. This make Volvo and Polestar unique in position, and they should thrive, right?
Yes, you're right. As part of Geely Group, Volvo is the only car maker, Western car maker.
Western?
Yeah. That makes cars in the US.
Yes.
Which is remarkable.
It's remarkable.
Yes.
How long can they continue to do that?
We don't know.
No.
We don't know. But still, they produce already.
Which
is a big thing because
it is.
What we understand from the new Trump's administration is that everyone is welcome as long as they produce, right?
Yeah.
Volvo is in a, as you said, in my opinion, is in a very interesting position because it has presence everywhere, and it doesn't, and it is part of a very powerful, the second largest in China, where they are working a lot on platforms, on electric vehicles. So, in my opinion, it's one of the best positions from the West.
Yeah, they must be, because if they take the electric development, the best technology from China and produce it in US and produce it in Europe, they will be better than Volkswagen or whatever, BMW.
Right. That's
anything.
Right. Yeah. They are already part of a Chinese car maker. They kept their independence, and they have they produce in the US. What else do you want?
What else do you want? More sales.
Yeah.
So who are the big losers right now, you think, in the market, in the European market?
I think those exposed most to the environmental politics and those exposed more to the Chinese competition. So I'm talking mainly about the mainstream car brands. That, I mean, the European car market has lost around 3 million units between the pre-pandemic and 2024.
3 million units in China?
Sales. No.
Total?
In registrations in Europe, had dropped
okay,
more or
yeah.
less 3 million units before and after the pandemic. That's a big thing. That's
yes.
a big loss. So the most exposed brands to the increasing competition from China are the ones that I think are the most vulnerable.
Yes.
Because those segments, the A, B, and C segments, are more price sensitive. And now that the European Commission is telling us buy electric, the prices goes even higher. So the price sensitivity is higher.
Yes.
Chinese offer is more competitive. I don't know what's going to happen after the tariffs. Of course, their prices are going to be higher and all of that. But still, they can make very affordable cars here in China. So those brands that play in those segments are, in my opinion, the most vulnerable right now.
Yes, I agree. Had one more thing about that. So you think, should Europe cut back on the speed of electrification in Europe?
It should allow other solutions.
Yeah.
To get to have a zero emission car, everybody driving zero emission cars is wonderful, but it has a price. And if you allow other solutions, I'm talking of mainly of hybrids and plug-in hybrids. It helps because those cars are not as expensive as electric ones, and still they emit their emissions are lower. If you look at Toyota's example, they have achieved a lot of things in terms of emissions over the last 20 years. Not because of electric cars, it's because of hybrids. Toyota is the biggest in the world. And it's still the one. I mean, this year they are heading to, I think, 11 million units. Mainly of those cars are hybrids. And when you look at the electric vehicles sales ranking by brands or groups, Toyota is farther down. You don't see it.
No.
So you ask why they are not focusing on electrics and they are focusing on hybrids. So I think yes, they should allow any improvement of the current technologies should be welcome.
But this, when you have the tariffs on the BEVs, will not the Chinese manufacturers flood the European market with plug-in hybrids and combustion engine cars? And then the industry will have even harder time, because the big market is like 80% are not BEVs. And now we will have all these Chinese makers coming in and fighting on the big market. It was easier to have them fighting about the 20% market.
You're right. That's, of course, that's what they are going to do.
Yeah. So we are, the European are going to lose even more.
Yes. MG, for example. The latest MGs are not electric.
No.
Are plug-in hybrids or hybrids. The MG3 is a very competitive hybrid car.
It is.
There must be a reason.
What is that reason that EU did this really stupid thing that will hurt the car companies in Europe even more?
Well, look, I don't know if the demand of plug-ins or hybrids from China increases,
it will.
They will eventually apply more tariffs to these products as well. But it proves also the disconnection between politics and reality. Because yes, you're right. I mean, the electric problem, it's not a problem yet, because the electric cars make up 16% of the European new car registration. And Chinese don't even have half of that 16%.
No.
So it's not a big threat yet.
It's not a big threat.
Not yet.
And
the big threat will be in the combustion engine cars.
It will be. And it will be that the European car manufacturers scale back on the development of electric cars,
Yeah.
and they will be screwed in China.
Yes.
So-
That's the consequence.
That's the consequence.
Yeah.
So, what will be the final word of this very interesting interview about the future of what will happen? Will you think in like 3 years? Because 5 years is too long time. What do you think? No, maybe 2 years in the automotive industry. What will have happened that hasn't happened yet?
Look, I think 2025 is going to be a very tough year.
Yeah,
Probably
for everyone,
Yes. I think it's
for
gonna-
consumers as well.
Yes. I think it's going to be as bad as it was during the debt crisis Europe had in the 2011, something, around those years. And one of the reasons, in my opinion, is also not only the increasing competition from China, because as I said, their market share in Europe is not that high. So we're talking about 2.6%. It's not
Yes.
big. The problem is that the cars are becoming very expensive.
They are.
Very expensive, and people are just cannot afford them.
No.
So you might blame, of course, inflation. You might blame, of course, the semiconductor shortage and all of that. Yes, it contributes. But when you look at the price increases over the last 5 years, it doesn't correspond to the inflation increase.
No.
So car makers need to stop this addiction to margins, because they are now losing market share.
They are.
Because that formula of increasing prices and selling fewer cars, which allow them to have
Which
record
was
profits.
super great in the COVID years.
Yes. It's not working anymore because now they have competition. They're not alone anymore. And so I think 2025 is going to be a tough year as long as they keep these high prices. And then eventually, I think we will see some catch up in terms of electrics and in terms of demand. But as long as these cars are not affordable, they won't play the major role in the European market. We've seen some progress in terms of costs, in terms of prices. The Renault 5, the Dacia Spring, and many others. But we're not there yet in terms of affordability. You cannot, a 20,000 euro car is not affordable. It's not an affordable car. It's not, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. And we have been talking about the battery costs are going down because the production is going up and there is an oversupply in China. But we haven't seen the battery prices going down, affecting the prices of the electric cars.
Not that much.
No.
We don't see the
You don't see it?
No, not.
That is really puzzling.
Because there is, I call it like a drug addiction to these great margins.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, the goal of any company, of course, is to produce, to make money.
Yes, of course.
I mean, that's the natural. But it has also a consequence. And the consequence is that 3 million people are not buying cars anymore.
Yeah.
And when you have a smaller cake, but more players, it's more tricky.
Yes.
And this formula is not going to last forever. So sooner or later, they will need to decrease prices. I don't know how, but the market needs to be reactivated.
Yes. And the prices of the used cars going up, so people are going to pay too much for a used car as well. That doesn't make any sense. And maybe
except for electric ones.
Yes.
Are going down.
Yeah, you're right. But the majority of the cars are not.
Yeah.
But are the regulations of safety systems too stringent? I mean, they have to put in a lot of electronic devices and safety things, and to make a car today compared to 15 years ago is a big difference.
Yes.
In cost of electronics and systems. And are they getting too sophisticated, the cars maybe today?
That's also playing its part. The regulation is becoming more complex and therefore more expensive.
Yeah.
So safety, of course, is welcome.
Yes, we need safe cars. Yes.
Sweden,
yeah, we love...
You are the pioneers in terms of safety. And that's great. But we are getting to a point where the regulation is so strict, so difficult to meet, that it's making it more difficult for the car makers to go on. I mean, there are rules here in China as well,
Yes.
but it's not as complex
No.
as in Europe.
No.
So you see that the car makers here are moving faster.
Yeah.
They are coming. They launch a product every month.
Yes.
Or I mean, you see there are so many brands. You see almost a new reveal every day.
A new brand every month.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they are moving faster than the rest of the world.
Yeah, they are.
And one of the reasons is also the regulation.
Yes.
And the bureaucracy. For example, the homologation process in Europe should be more aligned to the one in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not very different markets. But to homologate a car in one of those markets, it's very difficult and it takes a lot of time and money. Why? Those are things that the industry, at least in the West, should avoid in order to better compete against China.
I agree.
Yeah, but it's not happening.
It's not happening. So we are suffocating ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
With all these regulations and this bureaucracy and so on. Yeah. So last question. If you were to buy a new car today, what would it be? Would it be a Chinese or European or electric one or?
Well, look. As a matter of fact, I don't have a car. I don't need it. I love cars, but I don't need it.
You got off the hook.
Yeah.
But if you were to recommend me to buy the best, what sort of car should I buy?
Look, yesterday we drove this Envo.
Yes.
L60, and I was really
Me too.
impressed.
Me too.
Positively impressed. And I even said to myself, I would buy this car.
Yes.
It's nice. Even though I don't need that car. I think, I mean, in Europe, for my needs and my lifestyle, I would definitely go for a small car. I mean, a Fiat 500 electric.
Mm-hmm.
Just for city commutes.
But I have stopped producing that one.
Yes, so I cannot buy it anymore. I need another choice.
Yes, you need another choice.
But for example, Renault 5 is also very nice, interesting.
But it's expensive, I think.
It's expensive.
To me, it's expensive.
Yes. No, yes, it's very expensive. So, I mean, if I had unlimited budget, I would go even up for better options. But I think for the city commutes, an electric car is perfect.
It is.
It's perfect. But not all Europeans are only using their cars for city commutes. And that's where it gets problematic, as in the US.
Yes, yeah. So that's why I ended up with a old used V8 Lexus. That's
which is nice, a very nice.
Very nice car, but this doesn't make any sense. But to me, because of all the regulations and the costs and the depreciations and whatever. So it's a crazy market.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for
Thank you, Eric, for having me.
Yeah, it was super nice to talk to you. So thank you very much. Good.
Was it good?
Well, super.